Hello and welcome to the LGBTQ review, where sometimes we look at LGBTQIA+ films. This week we are looking at the 2017 documentary The Life and Death of Marsha P. Johnson.
I want to say it was the 4th of July. We were going to meet at midnight, but she never showed up.
She was in danger.
I was there when they pulled her out. Marsha was so full of life.
Marsha P. Johnson was the Rosa Parks of the LGBT movement.
Darling, I want my gay rights now!
Her case has been cold for 25 years. I'm calling from the Anti-Violence Project here in New York City. I want to try to give Marsha justice.
Marsha! Marsha! Street people and the drag queens were the vanguard of the movement. To Stonewall, Marsha and I fought the cops off.
We were in the streets turning out cars.
The movement started the next day.
Marsha was famous all around the world, but even famous people, cases go cold.
The documentary re-examines the 1992 death of trans activist Marsha P. Johnson, who was found floating in the Hudson River.
I don't know why they said life and death, because they don't really touch on her life that much.
They do.
Do you think afterwards, I was like, what do I actually know about this person's life? I know a lot about their horrific death and everything that happened after that, but I don't know. I don't know that much about their life.
Yeah, you know about their family background. You know about the Stonewall riots. You know about them starting the American Gay Liberation. You know about them starting Star. You know, loads of things.
Wasn't it the other person who started Star, though?
Hold on. She was a founding member of the Gay Liberation Front and Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, alongside close friend Sylvia Rivera. She was one of the first drag queens to go to the Stonewall Inn, and on the 28th of June 1969, police raided the inn, and Marsha, along with Zazu Nova and Jackie Hormona, were named as three individuals that began to push back against the police. And at the time, the police raided everywhere all the time. Mm-hmm. Violently raided everywhere all the time. I mean, if you've seen any raid, it's always quite violent, but yeah. She was a popular figure in New York, in the gay scene and the art scene.
Well, I mean, I'm not debating what she did in her life, just like that. I don't think it covered enough of it. Again, I just think that's all the information in the film. It's just like more historic than character. Like, I don't really feel like the film gave me a really great understanding of them as a person. I didn't like the format of it until the end, and I was like, oh, I get why they've done this. I'd like to see like a film like celebrating those two people more specifically about their life rather than the death. But as like, this is such a huge thing that happens in the trans community and it's so common, I get why they did like this kind of true crime documentary. The filmmaker David France, who directed it, that's obviously like their choice.
Have you seen anything else that the director has done?
No, I know they've done one other film or one other major release before this, but I've not seen it.
It's the 2012 documentary How to Survive Plague, about the early years of the AIDS epidemic in the US. And then he did one this year as well. It's called Welcome to Chechnya, and it's about the gay purge in Chechnya from the late 2010s to present day. Yeah, so David France is an investigative journalist in America who writes mostly about LGBT topics.
This came out in 2017. Her death was in 1992, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a line in the documentary and they say about how like that time period is like the worst in history, or like they say history must be American history, for deaths of the trans community. Do
you think it is still the peak of deaths in the trans community, or do you think that that's now?
That's a good question. I don't know. So this was what, 2017, so it's just before they'd be making it, just before like Trump had come in and stuff. So maybe in terms of screen time and stuff, if that's important to you, like Victoria Cruz is the person that you spend most of the time with. Similarly, Sylvia, who at the end, like she becomes part of the Star organization again and gets back into activism and stuff. And is a really fantastic and interesting person. But I don't feel like I really spent that much time with them or learned that much about them as a person.
It was interesting, I think, to see after the Stonewall riots, like this is in the documentary, and then when the like gay community begin to get rights, how quickly they drop the people that started the movement. So how quickly it turns to just like white middle America, and they don't want drag queens or like trans people.
There's two really important bits, I think, in terms of that topic, which is Sylvia's speech when she's allowed to finally talk, and like she's getting booed and things, and she's saying like, I've lost my job, I've become homeless, like I've been beaten up, been put in prison for this movement, and now you're saying that you're not letting me be a part of it. That was like very, very powerful bit. And then there's the other bit, which is like in modern day, which is, and I don't know who it is, but there's a guy standing outside the courthouse with Victoria, and he's saying about when there was like march for gay marriage equality, how the streets are filled and people are handcuffing themselves to the courthouse and things. And with these cases of like gay panic defense, people killing trans people, no one's there, no one cares. Being very critical of it. I think it is very good, and after watching it and I've thought about it a little longer, think it's a good idea to make it like a true crime-esque documentary rather than anything else. But it's just a shame. It's just like you kind of want more for them, the people involved.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the point of it. So it's like bittersweet.
So trans women are the most affected by violence in the LGBTQI plus community. Violence against trans people in the UK went up 81% last year. And still their lives and identities and rights are being debated on like national radio and TV. So we planned to shoot this 3 months ago. So at that point in time, over the last 10 months, The Guardian had no articles written by British trans writers, despite having over 100 articles on trans issues in that same time.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, and that's the like leftist one. Last year I marched at Edinburgh Pride, and there was an anti-trans presence, more so than the fundamental Christians, which are just like a few dotted around with hell signs. As a queer woman, we need to stand up for the trans community at every opportunity we have, and we need to make those opportunities. The TERFs use us as an excuse. I'm not an excuse, and I stand with the trans community. I think it's like, we shouldn't have to say that out loud, but we definitely do, because people are dying. Like, especially the Black trans community, like any trans people of colour. I feel like that's supposed to be a safe place where the LGBTQIA plus community can go to like and feel safe and celebrate in like a country where they don't often get a safe space. Like young trans people going and seeing that, I don't know, it must, yeah, I don't know. I will rate it 4.7 beautiful smiles.
I'll rate it 4.4 mini DV tapes. They're like little cassette tapes that you use to film stuff.
Okay.
They were popular in the 90s.
Thanks for watching the LGBTQ review. We have been James and Beth.